Hey there, guys. Sean Michael here from WinBeta, and welcome to episode 55 of the WinBeta Podcast for the week of March 4th, 2016. With me, as always, is co-host Zach Bowden.
Hey there, everybody. Hey.
There we go. And this week, we'll be talking about all sorts of stories. So we have Redstone insider info involving both Redstone Regular 1 and Redstone 2 Electric Boogaloo, which all sequels should have that suffix, by the way. Anyway, so we got that. We got Windows 10 and regular and Windows 10 mobile builds. Sorry. We have lots of build news, Xbox news, other news, and a potential $8 billion purchase that actually never happened. So we have all sorts of things to talk about. But before we get into that, Zach, how was your week?
Not too bad. How was yours?
It was already Still Loving Your Surface book.
Yes, absolutely. Very good. Best purchase ever.
Favorite Microsoft device you've ever owned?
Yes.
There you go, folks.
Absolutely. You know,
it's got the official Sunglass Zach stamp of approval.
Why the sunglasses a reference?
Because your Twitter profile.
Yes, it was sunny.
Follow Zach on Twitter, wherever his Twitter, whichever way that is. Go see his sunglasses.
Let's just dive straight in because I've already heard this.
Right,
New build 14279, was released for desktop insiders this week. About an hour ago, actually. So, very recent build. Includes new features for a change, which is very, very nice. Cortana can do a couple of new things. She now works in Mexico, Brazil, and France. Canada, was it? Of course.
I don't know, mate.
In the post we posted, the list of things aren't there. So let's go to the actual thing. Yes, Canada, Brazil, and Mexico. I was right. So they're new three new areas in which Cortana now operates. So it's very nice indeed. And Cortana can also remember things for you now, which is kind of just a layer on top of the already available Remind Me feature, which basically is instead of when you right now in Windows 10 Threshold 2, when you ask Cortana to remind you to do something, she'll ask for information such as what person it's about, the place, or the time. Now with Redstone, she won't do that. So if it's just a quick reminder, such as, oh, remind me to wash my car, or remind me to get bread later, she will just do it. She'll just save the reminder to a notebook. So you won't need to provide information until you have the information, which is very good because you don't always have information when you're setting a reminder, such as if I'm setting a reminder, I may not know when I want to be reminded. So it's good to just have the reminder in the notebook for a later date. So when you open up Cortana, that reminder will just be sitting there for you to deal with at a future time. Very nice indeed. Not only that, updated logon experience. Now, I mentioned this was coming a couple weeks ago at least, or at most, which I didn't know much about it then. I'd just been told that there was an improved login experience coming. It's here now, and basically what it is a login experience very similar to that on the mobile side of things. So when you swipe up on mobile, you get your PIN, and the background stays the same, as seen there. Now on desktop, there's the same thing happens. You swipe up and you get your little login profile picture with the same background. So your background is shared across the lock screen and the login page now, which is very nice. Gives a nice little animation, a fade-in animation. Very nice indeed. Apart from that, nothing else is really new in this build. There's a lot of things fixed. So if you were using Edge and Cortana, were crashing for users with roaming profiles, they're now fixed, and a bunch of other stuff, really. Overall, a nice new build with a hefty set of features. More features on the way, of course. Edge extensions aren't in this build, but
no,
I haven't mentioned this yet. They are very soon. Because I have, although they're not in the Redstone release builds yet, so RS1_ release, they are very close sometimes. But when they hit Redstone release, it'll be less or around a week or so once they hit insiders. So I would
like to think that they could not. I mean, I know that they have to get them ready, but I'd like to think they could be at least in preview build so that developers could work on them, because you said Redstone's rolling out in June, right?
Yes, that'll be something we talk about in just a minute. But yeah,
so they need time to make, at least for the big name one, so that when they reveal it, they can say, "Ooh, extensions! Look, this one already exists. You can already use this and that, except ad block. Don't ad block."
It's funny because the whole extensions for Edge thing has become a joke because everyone says soon. Now it's literally soon, as in like it will actually be soon now. I'm not sure if it will be at build or slightly before build that they actually drop these for insiders. My guess would be before insiders because, like I said, they're not in the release branches yet. I cannot guarantee them coming out before they hit the release branch. When they do hit the release branch, you lot will know about it, and then the wait would be a maximum of 2 weeks, I imagine, because with this new rollout thing they've got going on, builds get out a lot faster. So once the build in the release branch has edge extensions, it will go through all the things and hit insiders. Regardless, I don't think it will matter about build. It could do. I'll have to find out. But yes, it's edge extensions just around the corner now. So it is happening, guys, for real this time. No joke, I promise. No joke.
Well, that's exciting.
Yes, I mean, I don't know how many extensions there will be available straight away, because most of them won't be, because developers have to port them still. But the reason they're releasing them at build is because that will give developers 3 months or so, maybe a bit more, to port their Chrome extensions to Edge. It shouldn't take too long anyway, and then get the Edge extension store going, because they want a hefty amount of extensions ready for Redstone's launch, which is to be expected, because consumers will open Edge and go, right, I want to get my favorite extensions, LastPass, or Monkey, whatever it's called.
I still wonder if they already missed the boat.
No, I don't think they have.
Well, because if when you launched Edge originally, it had a feature like extensions, then people would be like, oh, that's cool. But there are people now that are on Windows 10 that upgraded on July 29th or around that time last year, or just over the next few months, clicked on Edge once, saw that it didn't have what they wanted. Why would they open it once Redstone launches?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe they'll have new, welcome to the new version.
So there's hundreds of millions of users on Windows 10 that have gone onto Edge that does not have extensions. I don't know how you could get the word to all of them. I mean, there's still people on Windows 8 regular, not 8.1. So some people are just always going to miss it. But there are people I think who just won't open Edge ever again. So I wonder how are they going to market extensions? They say, hey, look at this feature we have that's been out on Chrome for however many years.
I guess it'll be like a pop-up or something saying, oh, welcome.
It's a stick. I think it'll be complicated. They got to figure out something.
Yeah, I reckon they'll get the word out, though.
Yeah.
You know what else is coming in Redstone? More Cortana improvements.
Yes.
Before we were doing the pre-show not too long ago, and everybody in the comments I hate Cortana improvements. Just give us other things. No one cares about Cortana. Redstone's a lot about Cortana, guys. So get used to it. More things happening this week in this actual build they just released. I didn't talk about it, but it is there. There's a new option in Cortana that allows you to get notifications from your phone, and if you have a new phone build running on your device, such as anything above 7, what's the latest build on mobile? 6.9, 6.8, something. It's like 6.7, I think. If you're running a build later than that, so the next Insider build, for example, you will be able to now sync your notifications, regardless of the app, across your PC and phone. So if you get a notification on your phone saying your battery's low, it will alert you on your desktop saying, oh, hey, your phone's low. Your phone battery is low. You might want to plug it in. Very useful. It's also, I believe it also works for apps that aren't on PC. So an app on your phone that isn't on your PC, you will receive notifications for it here, so you can deal with them on your phone. Very nice indeed. And this is all part of the improved between devices that I talked about very recently, which will basically allow you to send SMSs and text messages and cellular calls to them from your desktop via your phone, beaming them back and forth just like iPhone and OS X. So very nice. I keep calling them Continuum because internally Microsoft refers to this as Continuum, the whole SMS texting via desktop. They call it Continuum inside. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to call it Continuum public, because I've already seen people get confused by this, but every time I mention the word Continuum, they immediately think, oh, it's 950s only. That's not what Continuum's about. Continuum is a lot more than that, but nobody seems to understand it, so I'm not sure how Microsoft will...
Just look at the Continuum, just the word. It's obvious about continuing. So, and then I think what they want to use it is the continuation of the user experience from device to device, regardless of where you are.
That's exactly what they refer to it as internally at Microsoft. But there are people, the public, seems to just think it's 950s only, which is a ridiculous thing to think. But that's Microsoft for you.
Well, yeah, and that's also somewhat, that's kind of like the word flow shape writing thing. Sometimes things kind of stick that you don't mean to. So we talked about this. Word flow, I believe, for a long time actually referred to when you type, it kind of did predictive text analysis of what word you're typing and what word would appear next. And shape writing referred to the swiping of your finger. But at some point in time, the public just started calling word flow when you swiped your finger. And so then even Microsoft started referring to it that way.
Yeah.
And there was a while where it was going to be, what was it? It was some with Windows 10 where they wanted us to call them like universal applications, or they had like certain terminology, but it just never stuck.
Right.
And so I think that might happen with Continuum. I don't know if they'll have to rebrand it or something. I don't know.
I guess we could dive into a few more specifics about extensions for Edge. I'm not sure if these would be in the build that drops initially, but there'll be an option to show the extension in the address bar, which is to be expected. Allow in private mode, and a bunch of other things. So you'll be able to. It'll also list permissions. So, for example, it will tell you if this extension reads your data, like local data, for example, or like webcam or whatever. Very nice. There'll also be a link to the store within Edge that will allow you to download new extensions, which is also very nice. Just pretty much how Chrome handles extensions. Pretty much nothing too blown out of the water here. I'm excited for extensions on Edge, and I'm excited for the synced, unified Cortana notification center, which will be very exciting.
I think because what happens to me now when I'm on Windows 10, I'll be on my phone out and about doing my thing during the day. And, I'm on Twitter a lot, probably, more than some of my followers want. And I'll tweet and people will get back to me. And then, it's a lot of people on the live chat. Dylan will respond or someone will send me a message or whatever. And then I get home. And as soon as I log into my PC, like I'll open my Surface, literally as I'm logging into the login screen, and it's every Twitter notification that I would have gotten if I was.
It's so stupid.
And it makes the notification center useless.
Mm-hmm.
Because
do you know how to stop it?
What was that?
Do you know how to stop all those notifications from popping?
I know how to stop it for Twitter specifically, but
you just swipe the notification center out and clear all of it goes away.
Okay. But it's still, the point is that the notification center, if I've looked at a notification on my phone, I don't want to have it to show up again on my PC.
No, you're absolutely right. And Microsoft even commented on this last year, and they said we did some testing about this, and we got feedback, and we found that users didn't want it, which makes no sense to me, because why would you not want it? It's exactly what you want. Like, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Microsoft said users specifically didn't want it or found it just confusing or annoying.
Isn't this the same company that claimed that placeholders were confusing, though?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like.
So I'm not sure if I trust their like confusion measuring metrics. Also, if it's that bad, give me an option. Do you want notifications to sync across all your devices, or do you want them to run, where they'll appear again, and you just click one or the other, and then they make that happen?
Yep.
If you really want all your email and Twitter notifications to show up on every device you have, that's your choice. But I don't.
Yeah. It's just give us the option. And hopefully, I say hopefully, it looks likely that Redstone Wave 1 will be very nice indeed. You know what else is very nice? Or actually, technically not nice. Redstone 2 being delayed.
Excuse me. Well, actually, did you talk about Redstone 1 has moved up earlier than we thought?
Oh, we should mention that as well. So before Redstone 2, let's talk about Redstone 1. I guess it's in the same article anyway. So this week I posted an article that was titled Second Wave of Redstone till Spring 2016. But in that article I talk about RS1 a little bit and how some things have changed there. So we always knew Redstone 1 would be released within the June-July timeframe, but we were never given a date. I've now been told that June is locked in, so it will be some point in June, so version 1606. If they decide to stick with that branding, which I assume they will, because why would they change it this early in the game? Redstone 1, I also found a little bit more out about Redstone 1 itself and what it focuses on mostly, and as we already know, it focuses on underload stuff. The universal app platform is a big thing that they were working with one. And also bringing a lot of things to Windows to the Xbox, so the Windows Store to the Xbox One. Also introducing more Project Centennial and Islandwood apps. What else have we got here? So, and also just the convergence of different Windows 10 devices, such as Xbox, PC, and phone, which is exactly what we were talking about just a second ago with the whole SMS texting from desktop and unified notification center and stuff. There's also a bigger focus on AAA video games. Now, I know we'll talk about this in a little while. Phil Spencer today came out and said he kind of downplayed a lot of the whole walled garden thing with Xbox games and hardware and whatever else. But the software side of it, Microsoft is kind of upping it internally. They want more AAA titles on Windows 10 and Xbox One. The Windows Store, they're aiming for Redstone 1. The Windows Store will be a one-stop shop for all kind of things you can purchase on the Windows platform. No matter what Windows 10 device you're using, whether it's an Xbox or a PC or a phone or a HoloLens, you will be able to go to the Windows Store, buy a song or a game. And I mean, the long-term idea is to have that run everywhere. I know games straight away won't be running on phone. I don't think I'll have Gears of War Ultimate Edition running on my Lumia anytime soon. But the premise is there. Most apps will work with it, such as not Project Centennial, but Project Islandwoods apps, for example, will run on the phone. And it'll just be it'll be a happy experience. Also, I imagine Facebook Messenger, like the universal Facebook apps that are coming very soon, will send Islandwood apps. I'm pretty sure they will be.
I sure hope so.
Or they're just waiting for Redstone, which makes no sense. Just release them now if they're ready, guys. We want to use them. Don't wait for Redstone.
They do seem to kind of attach to it. They say, "Oh, Edge updates can only come with a build update, and these updates only come out at this point."
Which is interesting because Edge, they said Edge would be able to be updated independently from your operating system. Apparently not. There you go. Yeah, so I've already mentioned the continuous stuff here, which is what is in the. And now RS2 stuff. So if you read the article, you probably know this, but Redstone 2 has been, air quotes, delayed. Now, of course, you can't delay something that technically hasn't been announced, but internally, Microsoft obviously has schedules that they try to stick to, and sometimes they can't stick to them. And I don't think this was something they couldn't stick to, more that they decided to push it back anyway, just to give them a bit more breathing room with Redstone 2. I also feel like this whole RS1, RS2 thing has flipped compared to Threshold 1, Threshold 2, whereas Threshold 1 was a big update, Threshold 2 was a smaller update. This time, it's looking like Threshold 1 would be the smaller update compared to Threshold 2.
You mean Redstone?
Yes, compared to Redstone 2. There will be features in Redstone 1, and obviously the feature set for Redstone 2 has not been finalized at this point, but a lot of the things that they have planned for Redstone, I don't know if they're going to be able to get out for RS1 in time, because when's June? Like 4 months away.
Yeah, it's not long.
It's not long. So, whereas Redstone 2, they have until June, not June 2017, they have to spring 2017. They obviously haven't got a month. They've just moved it to the area of spring next year.
Which again, this is Microsoft. Spring technically goes all the way until June 20th.
Does it? I thought it was March 20th.
No, spring starts on March 21st, and then it goes until the last day of spring, which is the day before the first day of summer. So technically speaking, it will still be spring in early June.
Right, so could be around then.
Could be a long
just
time.
A year from Redstone 1 to Redstone 2. And of course, that date will likely move back and forwards and so on and so forth. But yeah, so they've pushed that back to give themselves more breathing room and to concentrate on it more. I've seen people say Microsoft was supposed to be moving to a Windows as a Surface module. All it's done is slow down updates. Not true. We've had, with the whole Windows as a Service thing, since Windows 10 has launched, we would have had 4 major updates to Windows in 2 years. Whereas in the past, it would be 1 major update every 3 years, or in the case of Windows 8 and 8.1, one major update every 2 years. Every year you'd get a major update. So faster. This isn't slower, guys, regardless of what you think and whatever else. Well, this also means that insiders get more builds, right? Insiders will have more builds to play with.
Which means more videos.
Which means more videos and more things to discover.
Which means more money.
Redstone 2, not Redstone 2, but because they couldn't pinpoint where this would lay, but other features coming in the Redstone cycle, and I referenced that very specifically in the article, are cosmetic UI changes, which many people are excited about, to the start menu, action center, and what was it? Settings app. So the settings app, which I haven't actually glossed over much in the article, the settings app will be given a redesign. And that's all I know. Thank you very much. Goodbye. But yes, the settings that will be given a redesign. Obviously, the control panel will continue to be killed. And by the end of Redstone, I'm pretty sure the control panel will be gone, because that's kind of their big idea. The new Universal Settings app will be home to all. We've kind of started seeing this with Redstone, with the taskbar properties showing up in the Universal app. But yes, the settings app will be redesigned again. Much more. I assume it will be a lot better to navigate, because right now, although it's categorized nicely, it's still kind of awkward to use. So that would be very nice. Action Notification Center. Users will be able to filter notifications essentially be able to filter by relevance or most recent, etc., etc. And there'll also be a number of other updates to the Action Center, which I'll detail at a later date. Start menu, don't know too much about it yet. Just been told that there will be updates to the start menu. Microsoft with RS1 is also working on improving the shell for advertisements, which technically isn't a good... Well, I mean, it's a good thing for developers, because you will notice this a lot with RS1. RS1 is a big developer push. They've worked on the Universal Platform, the Windows Store. RS1 will be very tasty for developers. And
you think they'll bring back Steve Ballmer to make the announcement?
developers. No, but seriously, they're working... I don't know if the redesigned start menu will be in RS1, but the Windows shell itself, they're working on improving how Windows apps are displayed on the lock screen, for example, and in the start menu and elsewhere. So there will be a big developer push for RS1, and then RS2 will improve upon it by making things more visible to consumers and whatever else. That will just improve upon whatever comes in RS1. So a lot's happening for developers, really. So yeah,
which is good because
it's very good. I know there's going to be people going, I don't want Windows Store apps to be pushed to the start menu. Well, you can obviously turn it off. There's always a way to turn things off. It's just normal consumers generally don't care, and that's who Microsoft targets. You and me, like all 110 people watching this podcast right now. I know we have issues with Microsoft pushing apps to our start menus and lock screens as advertisements, but people who buy PCs in stores who just want a work machine don't care. And to them, in fact, it helps them sometimes. They're like, oh, that's a cool app. I'll try that out and whatever else. It's discoverability. That's pretty much what it is. And Microsoft is making apps easier to discover with Redstone 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you can see in our comments, as you said, the people who watch this live and then also just tune in general probably fall into a relatively different category than end consumer users, just generically. Even things like the control panel shifting to the settings app and in other areas inside a universal app. People on this podcast, like I've already seen comments in the past and maybe even some today, I'm not sure, who wouldn't like that. They want the control panel because it gives them this absolute control over certain things that they do, almost when they could break their PC. I don't mean in that they ruin it, I'm sure you could, but in that they can do whatever they want. But an end user who doesn't care about that sort of thing or certain backdoor access might actually enjoy that. So it'd be interesting to see how this kind of plays out, because it seems that Microsoft is moving towards the consumer end. They want things in a settings app. They want apps on PCs. They're moving in that direction. It'd be interesting to see if there's any more contention that shows up based on those core users who love just doing whatever they want with their PC, and then this direction that they're moving towards in Windows 10.
Right. People, I've read the comments here. The very, very diverse comments today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, me personally, I'm more of an end user. I like that I want to be able to find a setting that I want to do in a settings app, and I don't particularly care about some of this backdoor stuff that I see people doing. But I can see why people would be upset if that gets taken away. When they move everything to a control panel, there will be features and functionality that are lost. I can almost guarantee it.
Even with options, people get mad. Like, there would be an option to turn this off, but people will still be mad. It's like, why? Turn it off.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes being mad is justified, and sometimes it's ridiculous. If there's something you use, like jump lists, when those got taken away, people got really upset. And I don't use them. I don't care. But for some people, that was a really big deal. But now they're back. It doesn't affect me. I don't have to use them. But the people who do like them can use them. And so I hope that when they switch and they start, like you said, with the apps, you need to be able to turn it off if you don't want it there, all that sort of thing.
Back to the whole Redstone cycle thing. Again, talking about the Redstone cycle, so Redstone 1 and 2 at this point, Cortana will become a lot more hooked up to things. Right now, she's kind of her own entity, and sure, Edge kind of utilizes some of sometimes, but she's kind of her own thing right now. Over the Redstone cycle, she will become a lot more integrated to a lot of apps, in a good way, not a bad way. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I can say on that at this point in time. Very exciting time.
I hope you get more, because you see now some app developers really take advantage of what Cortana can already do, and some just don't. Like some there's just very poor Cortana integration. But the deeper you let her get into apps, I think the better it is.
Right.
So,
yeah. Exactly. Let's move on.
All right. Then, well, speaking of more Redstone stuff, but not Redstone 2, there are UI improvements being spotted inside of Redstone mobile builds. So switching over to Windows 10 mobile, we had an article this week by Zach, but because he's been talking for a lot of this podcast, I thought I'd give him a break. We see I like it. It's a nice UI improvement. This one improvement in itself, not that important, though it is nice. It's just when you resize live tiles on Windows 10 mobile, it does like a fading effect instead of, I guess, what's the current UI? Just appears a different size. There's no like fading into it. So in any event, there's a small UI change. That's not the big story in itself, at least in my opinion, that one change. It's that we're finally starting to see UI changes entering into Redstone, which shows that we're going to be getting some amount of changes on the UI more so than we have in the past. I'd love to see, vertical live tiles and that sort of thing, but I'll take this fading tile thing as a start. Zach, what do you expect in terms of UI changes when it comes to Redstone 1, Zach?
I'm not entirely sure. For mobile, not too much. I'm not expecting a whole lot to change. Which is technically a good thing, because let's be fair, right now all they need to focus on with Redstone and mobile are fixes. Really.
And at this point, they're pretty close to Windows 10 mobile rolling out with Redstone anyway. So
yeah, I think they've got another patch in testing for Threshold 2.164. And then after that, who knows? That'd be the final build.
They're probably going to finalize it to a point where they're going to say, this is done. We're going to start working on Redstone stuff. Once carriers get on board, we'll, whatever.
I mean, once people are on Windows 10, if they're not like locked down to carriers, you get updates anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's frustrating. We'll run into that. But anyway, UI stuff, it's good. I hope Windows 10 gets the similar treatment. So if we're starting to see these little tweaks, I really hope Windows, because there are just UI issues that show up, and it's just little things. It's a pixel here, which you don't think you'd notice, but things are just lined up poorly. It's menus that open wrong depending on which size screen you're on and that sort of thing. So some of these, they need to be fixed. And we were told that the reason that we get this Windows 10 forever update, last version ever, is because they're going to fix this stuff. So I hope that stays true, and that they continue testing new UI things.
At some point in the future, Windows 10 will be usable.
Well, I think it's usable now, but there are weird things.
It would be a nice experience. Like, if you sit down at an OS X machine and you use OS X, you appreciate the polish it has and the UI and just how elegant it is. With Windows 10, it's like, oh, blimey, what's going on here? Why is that there? What's this pixel doing there? Why is this menu not closing? Why did you crash? It's like Windows is just like the ugly brother right now. Even though they're working on the UI to make it seem pretty, right now it's not pretty. I really hope, I should actually ask about this, I haven't asked. I really hope not that I use white theme, but I hope they introduce a white theme for Windows 10. Like the taskbar and start menu, like on mobile. Because they don't have it right now.
It like blinds me if I use it. But again, options are options. Doesn't hurt me.
And then when they introduce that, they can finally make the apps dark, because weirdly, would you say Windows 10 uses a dark mode right now by default?
Yeah, I'd say relatively.
Yeah, the start menu and that's all dark and stuff. But the apps are using the light theme. Technically, in the code, they're using the light theme, even though the taskbar is designed, because it's designed like that, but it's dark. If they introduce a light theme, they'll finally be able to switch that, so dark theme actually uses dark apps like on mobile, and light theme uses light apps on mobile. Why that wasn't there at the beginning is baffling to me, but when it comes pretty much.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things. It's and I know you know this, but in general, there's UI stuff that on a mock or a render you could fix in Photoshop very quickly. But making it show up when you're using that on an actual PC is very different. I don't know if it's not a priority, because it's probably there are things more important to them than one pixel not lining up. Or like for me, when I use a second monitor right now, it overlaps slightly on my second screen for some reason. It's like by a pixel. That doesn't seem difficult to fix, but it's also not like the biggest thing to fix in the world.
You know how you could fix that? Move your monitor on the other side.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be the solution. Like, the solution should just be someone noticed that and then fixed it. But obviously, they're working on some really big stuff, so they probably can't focus on. I know they have a lot of staff, but I don't know. I hope this UI, like you've highlighted on your Twitter before. I've seen you with menus in Windows 10. That's such a good example of like, well, if I right click here, it's a dark menu. If I long press on this screen, it's a big old white menu. If I right click down here, it's a different black menu than over this black menu. It's I don't understand why they can't fix this. So I really hope that this little fading live tile is an indication that they're going to change the UI. Because honestly, I'm okay if my live tiles jump from one size to another, if my menus look right and the UI actually makes sense across all of Windows 10.
Right, exactly. Like, it's very silly. Some of the stuff that's in Windows 10 right now is very silly. You can tell, and you probably will be able to tell for the foreseeable future, that Windows 10 is under a faster release cycle. Because if this was on a 3-year development, we'd still have a year left of development. I think 20. Yeah. We still have like less than a year of development before they'd have to. So,
I was actually tempted though to do this week's poll. I thought this is a bit clickbaity, but I considered doing this week's poll on is Windows 10 fixed now? Well, because in all honesty, we've seen so many cumulative updates, and then I know this isn't Windows 10, it's a firmware thing, but some of the premier devices like the Surface Pro 4 and Surface Book running Windows 10 have received firmware updates and that sort of thing. I actually think we are getting to a point where Windows 10 is stable enough that I'm quite confident handing it off to people, and they wouldn't have an issue. But that wasn't true for the first few months that we had it.
No, there wasn't.
So I do think like we're starting to get to the point where these cumulative updates are, I don't, it's just already pretty much done. But the UI is the next step, and then features as well. So we'll see.
We should probably mention that patch release for mobile this week, .1.2, fixed the swiping keyboard issue in it.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Because that's fixed now, which is nice. That was a fix that was backported from Redstone, I believe, because that fix was in Redstone first, which was weird. But there, and now it's back in Threshold. Still haven't fixed the apps list problem though. When you back out from an app launch from the apps list, the fade effect disappears. So if you're using a like a light background, or your app, you can't read app list. It's just so stupid. They haven't fixed that yet.
The comments are saying. Yeah, it's because they didn't communicate with each other. Grapel said, it's because the different divisions haven't talked to each other when they started development. And then he says Microsoft even admitted it. I can't say if that's true or not, but it seems worth talking to. It seems, hey, we're doing this, you do that. But
it's funny that that tweet you talked about with the right click menus that I tweeted about last year. They got like over 1,000 retweets and whatever else. And
well, it's because it's ridiculous. It's like,
but what's funny about it is that so many Microsoft employees responded to that tweet going, great feedback, Zach. I forwarded this to my team. Oh, yeah, thanks for the heads up, Zach. We forwarded this to our team. Like, Major Nelson from the Xbox division forwarded it to the Xbox team. Ellen from the Groove Music team forwarded it to her team. Someone from Edge did it the same. It's like, guys, just don't you have like an internal portal just to talk to each other? Just
Zach, but you know what the problem might be? Maybe they all forwarded it to their own teams, and then they all changed the UIs differently. Maybe what'll happen in Redstone 1 is when I right-click on Edge, it'll be the same menu as what's currently when I right-click the taskbar. And then if I long press on here, it'll be what I usually get when I right-click Edge. And they'll be like, wait a second, we all changed everything, but in a big old circle.
You know what? That's just a very good example of what Windows 10 development is like internally right now.
I like Windows 10 generally, but I mean, with UI, there's things to nitpick.
Windows 10 will be beautiful one day.
Yeah.
It will blossom.
Anyway, so we also had a Windows 10 mobile build this week. You want to touch on that briefly?
That's what I was just talking about.
Yeah. Is there anything else from that?
No.
All right, then. Well, why don't I get into the poll before we get onto Xbox, because that's a pretty big story in itself. So I did a poll this week on the App Gap. Actually, I almost jumped into this when you were talking about they want the store to have everything media-wise in one place on all devices. As you said, with restrictions, obviously your Lumia 540 is not going to be running Tomb Raider, but, whatever, maybe in 10 years. But in any event, so we had a poll this week on, will the Universal App Platform close the gap? Specifically, it's app gaps are always going to get votes, and we like feedback from people participating. But I specifically said it's been a while because things like the Xbox is about to get universal app support. There's Continuum on more prevalent devices. It's not just the 950 and 950 XL. You're also getting that HP Elite X3 and that sort of thing. So there are OEMs other than Microsoft who are going to be making devices running Continuum. And so with all these tools showing up and more phones showing up from OEMs other than Microsoft, is that app gap going to get closed? And so we had over 1,000 votes this week. And it was actually for a bit, it was actually leaning away. I thought it was really going to surprise you. But the three choices are, yes, we'll see all of the apps we want on Windows. Another one, somewhat, there will still be some apps missing. And then green, no, the app gap will always be a problem. It splits about the way that I think you'd expect. 52% said somewhat, there will always be some apps missing. 33 said, yes, we'll see every app they want on Windows, which seems a bit optimistic. But and then green, the no will always be a problem. That comes out to 15%. Where do you fall on this, Zach? How much do you think
I fall into a unique category in the sense that it won't be for mobile, but for desktop. I'm convinced that the universal platform will be a much more of a success desktop than it will be.
Well, there's more users.
Of course, apart from that.
I would say it. Well, the thing, hundreds of millions of users on Windows 10, and I've said this before, I'll just say it briefly. If it's an app that people would use on a computer and it doesn't take them more effort to have it show up on a phone, they'll probably be fine saying it works on both and selecting that option and doing a little bit of tweaking. But if it's a phone-specific thing, I don't see the incentive to do it in some countries. So that's what's going to happen. I think, in my opinion, I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that's the poll this week. As always, you vote on the polls. I put them up on Wednesdays. Put them live for a couple days. Try to get those trending. Because when they trend, then we get more votes and we get more feedback. The comments are always very heated in that. So if you want to debate some Windows people, go ahead and jump on those polls and that sort of thing. Well, moving on, I guess, to the next thing. We got a big... Yeah, it's Xbox stuff. There's a bit of a... Sometimes at the podcast, we get half a story and then more develops and then we have to cover it like the next week. But now, Zach, you get to go through the whole history that came out in 1 week.
Yay. So let's begin with the Spring Showcase. Was it this week or was it that some point last?
Was it on the 25th?
Yeah, the 25th of February, but we didn't find out what was...
Yeah, we couldn't... Event. No one could talk about it.
They weren't allowed to talk about it until this week. Games, pretty much. Games, and Universal stuff. So they released Gears of War Ultimate Edition on Windows 10 PC. Pretty great. Lots of games. Forza Motorsport 6 was... Stuff happened with that. But the biggest news came from what Phil Spencer was kind of saying on the stage. He was like, Xbox and PC will become... Pretty much, I mean, that was not what he said exactly, but that's what I'm kind of paraphrasing here. And everybody flipped out, like, wow, is the Xbox going to be... Are they going to upgrade the Xbox specs? Are they going to make it an upgradable component, like an upgradable kit? Will it be a SKU? How does this mean? Etc, etc, etc. And in short, I imagine how they would do this is they would release a new SKU, which would be like an Xbox One Pro, for example, that would just have a better graphics card, more RAM or whatever, just better specs internally. And so they could play play games at 1080p, 4K, etc, etc. But ask developers to target the original Xbox One that's available now. So what that would mean is that gamers who purchase the original Xbox One will not lose out on games. They'll always have the games running on the Xbox One all the way up until the Xbox 2 or whatever comes out after that. But those who want the Pro version can actually have a better experience playing their games. That's how I imagine Xbox would do it. But there's also
I would sure hope so.
There's also the option of making just releasing a console that can be opened and you can just manually upgrade the components yourself, which would be very interesting. Again, if asking developers to target the initial Xbox One and go from there. But today, Phil Spencer kind of came back and stepped down his claim, saying that we're not really going to do that. But I think he's just lying. No, seriously, let's see what he said. I'm going to open the article now.
Well, I'll talk for a second on what you said about... I think what people are they're upset about. One, I think people get defensive. I was watching... I should credit him, but I'm not sure who it was. But in any event, people get defensive about their systems. So PC gamers are blah, 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 and console gamers are this and that. And then, I don't know, they don't want people crossing over. But also, people don't want fragmentation. I think that's what it really comes to. A modular Xbox would create fragmentation, and I think people are afraid of that.
Right. Not only that, the gamers were even more mad at the whole Windows 10 Xbox One thing, which I just do not understand. They are not happy that games are coming to Windows 10, and people.
They'd be happy if Halo came to Windows 10. They'd shut them up.
Epic CEO said today that he thinks that Microsoft is creating this walled garden, which, to be fair, is like, so what? Apple did it. Why can't Microsoft do it, right? Regardless. Because of this, he's kind of half backpedaled on what he said. He said here, a game is a game and all games should run everywhere. But I wouldn't say our strategy is to unify, because when I hear unify, I worry a bit that people will interpret, my own teams included, hey, we just want to say a game is a game and all games should run everywhere. The other thing is the play space itself. I'm usually closer to my monitor. It's a small screen. All these are usuallys, and my TV experience is on a is via console. I'm further away. It's more of a communal play experience. You sit on a couch, you're relaxed. It's exactly how I like to play my games. I said this on Twitter the other day. I was like, I want to play City Skylines, but I don't want to sit at a computer playing it. I want to sit on my couch on a big screen. I don't care if I can download or buy a Steam Link thing. I don't want to play it from a PC. I want to play it on my Xbox. Thank you very much. That's all I want, guys. And actually, on that note, my Steam account's disappeared.
Yeah, I saw that.
How this happened? It's just gone. I didn't know you could do that. But
hold on a sec. Do you buy this explanation about specifically that screen size? Like,
yeah, I get that.
Can't you use whatever you want as a monitor?
No, you can, but he's like he says here, usually.
Oh,
He's got,
I guess most people do have their Xbox at like their couch and then their PC.
I have my Xbox on my telly, and I have a PC at a monitor. This one is just smaller than my telly, but that's how that works pretty much. I play my preferred gaming experience is an Xbox One. I do not play games for 1080p. Well, I mean 1080p would be nice technically. Mentioning it, but I do not play games for the graphics. Most of the time, I don't really mind if it's running at 30 frames. I just want to play a game if it's fun, if it has a good story, because I love a game with a story. So I play Halo, and it's pretty much them two things. And just entertainment-wise. So also, I use my Xbox mostly as a media hub. So I use it for like YouTube videos or Netflix, for example, or streaming things to it. I don't really care for much else. I don't. Yeah,
I think a lot of users, like we talked about this before. There are people who buy an Xbox because they like that it's an Xbox. They don't really care if it's a Windows 10 device.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. Like you said, some people will be mad about anything. Some people will be mad that there will be apps on their Xbox. Oh, I don't want to, whatever. Like that. Some people are always going to be mad, but it seems that there's a few things that surprised me about this. So they had this event that people went to on February 25th, but we weren't allowed to talk about until March 1st. So I was expecting some really big announcement, but then there really wasn't.
No, if it was a big announcement, it would have been quicker than that because it would have leaked otherwise.
Right. And so there was, they had this like relatively secret event. We all knew it was happening, but couldn't talk about what happened. And then it was just like, unifying experience. Could be some apps and some games on here and that. And you're like, well, we knew that. Like this isn't new.
When I heard what they had talked about, I was like, wait, they didn't talk about Universal Store or.
Really? Yeah. So that's what I mean. I was a little confused why this was such a big. I don't know, because, we all reading the tea leaves a bit. Look at that. Mary Jo and Daniel Rubino are hanging out in the same city a few weeks. Oh, what's going to happen? Oh, this is getting announced here. And now there's a secret event. And are they going to announce app support? And then it's like, no. It's like unifying experience. And you're like, that's cool. But I was kind of wanting some more.
Yeah, I assume that they'll talk about the Universal Store for Xbox One at build, since it's.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what they said
at that point.
So Phil had to tweet today. I don't think he said anything that out of line, but if you follow him on Twitter, you saw some tweets about, Microsoft has always been an open, it's open this cross-platform. I don't want to misquote him, but I'm pretty sure that's the tenor of what he said. And I talked about this earlier today on Twitter that while technically, yes, Microsoft could make this walled garden monopoly, I've seen people suggesting that they'll cut DX support unless you use their store, and like they're gonna like basically start sabotaging all other platforms. I'm like, that's not Microsoft, at least over the last few years. Like the current Microsoft puts their best apps on other platforms. Some argue they put better versions of their apps on other platforms.
Oh, right.
they'll work together with Slack or Salesforce or people that directly compete with them. They'll have plugins from competitors. They don't. I don't think, at least that I don't think Microsoft has this master plan to buy everything that's cross-platform, get everyone onto it, and then in 2020 shut it out unless you're on Microsoft. Like, I don't think that's their plan. You know what I mean? Look, everyone is on Skype for Business and Office. Everyone's already locked in. And then in 2020, they're like, now you can only use Office on Windows Phone. Like, I just don't see them doing that. So I don't see why they would do that with games. Like, that wouldn't line up with what they're doing, in my opinion.
I don't think so either. Like, PC gamers especially, are mad at this for no reason. Like, Steam won't be dead because of this. Steam isn't going to die.
Yeah, isn't Steam huge?
Steam will be the biggest PC platform for games for a long time, probably possibly forever.
And Steam sales and stuff are still going to be popular. I don't see the harm in a little competition.
Yeah. You know, I just realized what I forgot to do today. I
What's
forgot
that?
to do the live banner.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's glad Cortana doesn't have a.
Our viewership was not affected in the slightest, so...
Not really.
Also, someone on the official WinBeta account's now in the live chat.
Not me.
Yeah, I know.
Not me. Whoever that is. Stop.
Yeah, that's probably wrong. In any event, is there anything else with Xbox you want to talk about this week?
No, not really.
All right. So there was, I guess, this might turn into a big story. Kind of happened, today. So we'll see how much traction this picks up. There was a TechCrunch report that Microsoft considered buying Slack for $8 billion with a B dollars, but decided to build up Skype with more services and features instead. So I've done some more reading on this. I'll admit, Mary Jo Foley had a good post on this on her site on ZDNet. I was just reading about with Slack and why Microsoft, if they would buy it, why they'd buy it, why they wouldn't buy it. Basically, $8 billion is a lot of money. And while Slack is really popular, it's somewhat redundant. Like, I'm not saying that Microsoft has things that do what Slack does as well as Slack does it. I don't use Slack, but I know it's popular among many. But they just dumped a dump truck full of money to get Skype. They just merged Skype or Skype for Business with Link. They've worked really hard on pushing Skype for everything. And I think Mary Jo's right. They have it. Yeah, there are things that line up, but they've shoved so much money into Skype and pushed it on everything. I don't really see Slack as something that they're going to spend that much money on. And apparently, Bill Gates and Satya Nadella agreed because they, according to this, they didn't think acquiring Slack was a wise decision, and it was scrapped. So
what they could have done is acquired Slack and then shut it down.
See, that's what I mean. That's what people seem to think Microsoft is going to do, where they're like, we're going to buy this, and we're going to buy that, and then we're going to shut it down. And I'm like, that's not what they do. Also, I think Mary Jo actually pointed out, doesn't Slack have, Slack has integration with Skype. So, like, if you really love Slack, and you have, like, I don't see them doing that. I can see why they turned it down. I know that they just confirmed that Bill Gates is indeed the richest man in the world. That came out this week as well. But I don't think he wants to just pour $8 billion, and I don't think Satya Nadella does either, into something that they don't value.
No,
is it worth mentioning? I guess we didn't mention what Slack is. Is it worth defining?
I think they know what Slack is. They don't Google search. Bing search.
Yeah, somebody asked Grape was asked in the comments there. But I think Slack's a business communication app. A lot of people use it for
Skype,
internal.
but better.
Yeah, a lot of people use it for internal things in organization and communication networks.
It's like HipChat, but even better.
Yeah, I mean, Slack's it's nice. I've seen a lot of people use it. A lot of people like it. So,
HipChat sucks. Whoever's in the WinBeta account right now, HipChat sucks. I hope you know that.
I would say this: Microsoft does not need to buy every good production company. People are like, they should buy Slack. They should buy this. They should buy Steam.
Here's one I hear a lot. They should buy Adobe.
Yeah, and I'm just like, why would they buy Adobe? They'd be pouring. Adobe already works with them well.
No, they don't need to.
Microsoft likes buying startups, people with innovative technology, and when they're backed into a corner, like the Nokia purchase, which I'm not even sure I'd classify them as liking, but it's something that they did because they kind of had to. I don't think Microsoft's just like, who's really popular? We're going to buy it. I don't think that's how they run, but again, I don't work for them, but whatever. I know they've spent money on things. I'm not saying that they don't spend money, but I don't think they needed to spend it on Slack. So, but then again, as people have joked, maybe next week they'll announce the Slack purchase. What was that?
Skype that will save the day.
I don't know if it'll save the day, but it'll be good enough.
Microsoft, build Skype to be better, and then I will think about this decision that you've made.
Yeah. All right. Well, another thing is Microsoft was apparently they're testing Centennial versions of Office. Did you see that this week?
Yes, I wrote about it. Still is being tested.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about this, honestly. They're talking about porting.
Well, I think it's more the fact that Microsoft is testing an Office 2016 version of a Centennial version of Office 2016. What it basically was is that you click one button in the Windows Store and it downloads the entire Office suite and installs it, and then you can launch them. Although the apps don't actually work, it's still the basic idea is still there. There will be a Centennial release of Office at some point. Not sure when, but
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's just good. Office is coming to the Windows Store.
I will say it's I don't want to say awkward because it's not difficult, but it's a little roundabout to download everything right now. Especially if someone got a Windows 10 device and then they actually use like the Get Office 2016 app, and then it takes you here, then you do that, then it sends you back, and then it opens all these things. That's a bit roundabout saying they have a gigantic app store.
No,
so,
right,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
You know what? On a semi-related note, I am enjoying the dark theme.
Oh, on Office.
In Office right now, it's amazing.
Dark theme everywhere, man. It should be on every single thing, on every single product.
You know, WinBeta used to have a dark theme. We don't have it now.
Oh, why was it taken out?
I don't remember.
Oh, and that means our app can't have a dark theme.
Oh, so sad.
Our ever in development app.
Yes, we want Oliver as a guest on the podcast. Sadly, Oliver's never. We ask him every week, not every week, but we talk about it every week, and he's never here.
That's the official WinBeta, man. After party, stick around. We'll figure this. We will iron out a detail. Yeah. Anyway, do we have any other stories this week?
No. This podcast
no,
is a
that's
long
it.
One.
What was that?
Podcast is a long one today.
Well, remember we had to restart.
2 minutes.
Except if you're watching the rebroadcast, then you'll never know.
I'm not sure what just happened.
In any event,
but that was the most amazingly timed lag I've ever seen in history. You lagged, but it slowed you down, so your amazingly slow was amazingly slow.
Oh, there you go.
That was amazing.
All right, then. Well, I'll wrap it up then. All right, folks. Well, this has been the WinBeta Podcast, episode 55 for the week of March 4th, 2016. As always, I am one of your co-hosts. Oh, that's two. One of your co-hosts, Sean Michael. You can find me on Twitter at Sean_Michael_UK. And the other co-host is Zach, and you can find him on Twitter
at ZachB_.
You can find WinBeta on Twitter at WinBetaDOT.org. You can also find us on Google+, Facebook. We're not on Snapchat. I don't know what else but you can find us around. Listen to us on SoundCloud, YouTube. You're obviously listening to us somewhere on that because there isn't a text version of the whole podcast.
Unless you're listening via iTunes.
Ooh, you could do it via iTunes. There you go. In any event, so you got all that. Find us on here. You can join us live every week if you're free. You can join us 8 p.m. England time, GMT, on Fridays, or whatever that equates to in yours. But be aware, because daylight savings time is different for a week in America and the UK. That's coming up soon. Anyway, so you can always join us live, and you can do all that sort of thing. And we appreciate you tuning in. So we will see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.